Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today I am back again with another video. In my past few videos I had a very great response from you guys, and starting with that only, today I am back again with another great security tool, which is one of the world's most popular and widely used web application scanner, and it is yet another open source tool, which is OWASP Zap. Basically, the tool's name is ZAP Proxy, and it is developed by the OWASP community, which is the Open Web Application Project community. In my previous videos also, I had the same web application which I will be having in this video as well. So, talking about the tool, it is basically a Zed Attack Proxy, which has an acronym of ZAP, commonly known as ZAP Proxy. So this tool is an open source tool, and it is available on majorly all of the top operating systems, which are Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. So as you all know, I currently am using the Arch-based Linux system, which is EndeavourOS, and I have it installed on my system. But you can do the same. You could go to the browser and you could go to OWASP Zap, and you can go to the owasp.org -project zap, and you could probably download it from here or whatever. And this is what the logo of the Zap looked like. Here we have some of the comments, and yeah, we have much information about that. So I probably have downloaded it, and I would start up the tool. So I'm back in my terminal, but if you want, you can directly go to your applications and search for the Zap, and there you will have the Zap. But I'm not used to, so I'll be just going back to my terminal, and I would be using the ZAP proxy. Okay, so I am basically using the Arch-based operating system, and I have the Pacman package manager additionally with the AUR. So they just give this as the name, and there I have the ZAP. We just press the enter, and our tool starts with the verbosity, which I probably like. I would make it to the half screen, and there will be starting with the ZAP proxy. Okay, so on the right pane you could probably see that why I just like the command line interface, because it just makes it very much easy to just go through all the logs like here we have, and if there comes any error, so we can just go through the logs and clear it out as soon as we get that. Okay, so starting with this, we have again a welcome screen as the previous tool. Okay, so having an overview of my previous videos, which were over the Nikto tool, which was a web server scanner. Then we had a security web application reconnaissance tool, which was Skipfish. And now we are back again with our ZAP proxy. So the ZAP proxy is a type of a automated tool in which it just scans up the whole web application and lists out all the vulnerabilities and all the possible alerts, which I would be discussing in a few moments. and it's a kind of bundle of all of the previous tools, and have a very nice interface and a great penetration testing tool. And I already said that it is one of the world's most popular open source, which means free security tool, and it is widely used by the communities and the security researchers. Okay, so we would start with the our ZAP. Okay, so first we have that, do you want to persist the ZAP session? So we probably don't want to persist, but if you want to persist, you can click on the yes, and you can persist the session with the name based or current timestamp, or you could directly specify the name and location if you want to, and you could remember the choice, but I don't want to either remember my choice or have it persistent. Okay, so I will be going with the no and just starting that. Okay, so as soon as I start, I get up the whole lot of tabs. Okay, so it presently has a very clean look, but as soon as we'll be going with the scan and starting that, it will get dirty. By dirty, I just mean that it would be generating some alerts, giving us the outputs, going through all the crawling, all the spider stuff, and then list out all the vulnerabilities and attacks which can be performed on that particular web application. So we'll be just starting with the taskbar and the above. So we have a file session where we can create a new session, open a session. If we already have one, we can persist the session as we gave a no in the welcome screen. We can snapshot the session as any format which we like. We can have some session properties as well. We can import some context if we want. We can export it. We can load an add-on file if we have any. We can exit and delete the present session, or we can just simply exit the session, and that's all about with the first file tab. Then we come to the edit tab, and in the edit tab we have some ZAP modes, and the same modes we'll be having here as well. So I would be probably talking about here because people generally don't use this much because it's a lot of options present over there. So we can go up and find anything if you want. We can search and on the next result, previous result, and whatnot. And we have a show tabs icon, and there we have all the tabs which we can activate, or we can hide those, but I would be going with the default ones, which are the alerts, the search history. So I'll be having the output tab as well, and that I probably have here, and then the quick start and all the tabs, right? Okay, so I could probably use show all the tabs, but that doesn't look great because it automatically pops up whenever the scan has something. So it generally gives out a new tab over here, which we will be seeing. Then we have pin all the visible tabs and unpin and all about the tabs. Then we have any scan policy if we have any policy, or if we are working with any organization, then we can have any policy which the organization is having for its scan. Then we have the report tab, and in the report tab we can generate a report, and we can generate an HTML report, an XML report, and a markdown report, JSON report. Then we can export any messages to any file if we require to do so, or we can export the responses to any file. We can export all the URLs to the file. We can export any selected URLs, or export the URLs for any context. Okay, so context will be seen over here in this tab, in the sites tab, and we can compare with another session. So we can create a session and store a session, and we can also compare that session with any previous sessions. Then we have the tools tab. In the tools tab, we probably can browse the API, we can uh, toggle the breaks and use a spider, active scan, and like there's a whole bunch of information you can explore whichever you want to. Then we have the import. We can import any open API definition. Then we can import any file which contains the URLs, and another we can use the GraphQL schema. Then we can go to the online tab, and there we have the hood option. So basically hood option is the option like when we use the ZAP. So basically what is ZAP? ZAP is a proxy which is basically set over here. You can see it is on the primary proxy is set on over the local host 8080. So we can use the hood. So okay, I was talking about the hood, right? So hood is basically a type of overlay to your screen is made over the both borders, and there you get a whole bunch of options to basically it is just like if you have ever used the burp suite. So in the burp suite you have to just open up a browser and then a burp suite, and then uh, probably split out your screen into two and have the both looking at the same time. So this hood option makes that very much easy for you, because in that case you can directly go to the hood and select the options rather than coming back to uh, the ZAP tools window and selecting any option, or like if here we see we can forward the request and we can halt the request, or many bunch of the information. Then we have the ZAP website bundle and ZAP Marketplace, and all the online information whichever we can get about the ZAP, including the videos, the developer group, and whatnot. Then we have the help tab to get some help and updates for the OWASP ZAP, which is the ZAP proxy. Okay, so we come over here, and we have the top bar. Okay, so explaining the top bar, it is rather the same as given here, but kind of provides you the icon face, and that probably gives you the text written over that and explaining things. So over in the first you have the mode, that what ZAP mode do you require. So basically in the firstly we have the safe mode. So basically safe mode will not allow you to do anything potentially dangerous. That means it is like its name is, which is it's safe, and it doesn't attack any server or any web application. It just lists out all the vulnerabilities which a hacker can see. And what do you mean by a hacker? That he generally don't want to raise any alert in order to not get caught. Similarly, in the protected mode, we'll only be allowed to do the basic potentially dangerous things on the items in scope. Okay, so it will add up some additional icons if we require to the scope, and we'll be having the access to those as well. In the standard mode we have all the options activated, and in the attack mode similarly we have all the new nodes that are in the scope. They will be discovered, and we can use that as well. So as a default it is used at the standard mode, so we will be going with the standard mode itself. and there we have to create a new session, which I already told you. These are the some same options which are present in the top bar as well. Here we have the same. Then here we have a request and response tab side by side. Like if we want the request and the response tab side by side kept, so we can use that as well, but probably we don't require that, so we won't be using that. So that's all about the request and response. Then we have to manage the add-ons, check for updates, show or enable any fields if we require. Then we can set a break on all the requests, or we can submit that request and just step up to the next request, which will be generated over here, like the request and the response. So, and there we just can continue to the next breakpoint for any request. And for this icon we can just add any custom HTTP breakpoint if we want to, and the same as the policy manager, then user mode required, and we can just open up a browser from here as well. Okay, so that said, we come to the main section of the tool. First we have the sites tab. Okay, so in the sites tab, as soon as we perform any scan, we would be having the sites listed over here in a lot, and by a lot I mean that it will show you all the available URLs. After that we come to the basic welcome OWASP ZAP tab, in which we can have an automated scan, we can perform an manual scan, we can learn more about the ZAP, and that's all about that. And then we have the main tab where all the verbosity takes place. Here we have the history tab. If any scan which we are performing, it will be listed in the history tab. Then we have the search tab if you want to search anything or any scanned result. Then we have the alerts. Okay, so for alerts, basically we have here we have four kinds of alerts, but basically as per the CVSS scoring system or the common vulnerability scoring system, we have a basic of 5 types of ratings of the vulnerabilities, or we could say the severity level of the vulnerabilities. So what is that? Firstly, we have a info type of vulnerability, and the rating, the CVSS score given to that is 0 by default, because it is no vulnerability, it is just information which is being provided to you. Then we have a low risk, what we can consider a low vulnerability, which has a rating of above 0 and probably below 3.9. Then we have the medium vulnerability, which has the rating of 4 to 6.9. Then we have high severity, which is around the rating of 7 to 8.9, and the critical vulnerability is 9 to 10. So basically it is just distributed on a scale from 0 to 10. But in ZAP proxy we have the informational priority alerts, then we have the low priority alerts, then we have the medium and high. We don't have the critical, because the critical is considered as the high priority alerts as well. And by that alerts we just mean that we are at high risk and we want to remediate that vulnerability on an early basis. Then we can consider the medium vulnerability, then we can consider the low vulnerability, and the information is not a part of the vulnerability, but if there is no kind of high, medium or low vulnerability, we can probably look at the information tab. And then that's all about the alerts. Then we have the output. If we get any output, we would be getting the output tab. And as soon as we'll be starting with the scan, we would be having some fuzzers, we would be having some downloads if we are having some, then some passive scans, active scans, attack mode, spider, force browser, ajax, spider. So basically we have a spidering. Spider means we just crawl out over the whole web application and then just list out all the vulnerabilities as well as the links as well as a whole bunch of information of that web application. So probably we would be starting with the standard mode itself with an automated scan. Okay, so by selecting the automated scan, we have the option to substitute the URL which we want to attack. Then we have a traditional spider. Do we want to crawl over the website and use that spider? And then if we want to use the Ajax spider, in our case, we won't be able to, and we will not use that. And that's the attack to perform a quick attack. And the stop option is grayed out because it's not scanning. And as soon as we press on the attack, we would see some progress, and the stop grayed out button would be popped up and the attack button would be grayed out. Okay, so coming to the URL, we have to have a URL first before scanning the websites, right? So for that we have our OWASP broken web application uh, running at our local host as usual on the IP of 2.18 or probably 192.168.2.18. So it is asking for the passwords. There we have the 192.168.2.18. Okay, so I already have explained you the whole web application we have, and it is the web application which is developed by the OWASP community itself, and we are also working on the OWASP tool. So we have seen all the website in my previous video as well. So if you haven't seen that video, please go to that and have a look over it and then come again back to it. Okay, so here we can use the IP itself, or if we have any username, we can use that as well to scan. Okay, so as soon as we start the our scan, you see that it's started scanning, and here we get up a bunch of processings. Some of them red out and some of them are greened, and we get the method which is we have a get and post request for this probably, and then we have generated some UIs or URLs on this particular web application. So this is basically the spidering tab, and some of them we have the out of scope sections and some are in scope, and it is just scanning on an automatic basis. So let's see what it scans, and let's wait for the another tab to pop up, and till then we'll get that thing down and go to the sites. Okay, so as I said that we would be getting the sites, and we got an arrow, so we can click over that arrow and we get the site which we have or which we are scanning as well. Okay, so in this particular case we have this particular site or the web application. So if we click on the drop down arrow, we get all the sites which are, or we could say the sub URLs, subdomains which are present over here in this particular IP, because we have the IP as our web application which is hosted at the local host. So we would get those, and these are all a bunch of, like, we have a DVWA and the site also. We have that DVWA as well, which is over here, the damn vulnerable web application, and a bunch of those as well. Okay, so that's all about the sites tab. And then we have the current scanner is only one, and it has found approximately 5,200 URIs, or we could say the URLs, and these many nodes are added. We can export that result, but probably for now we don't want to. And here you can see the passive scan is still in its queue, and we have the spider which is running, which is only one because we have one scan running. So we have one spider which is spidering over all the web application. So over here we can see that we got 5 medium vulnerabilities, quite a few low priority alerts, and then only 4 informational priority alerts, or the info. So we could probably go to the alerts because we had that. So we go to the alerts, and there you could see the main picture of what is going on. Here we see we are getting an increased number of those vulnerabilities. So here I would like to introduce you to the false positives, because in the vulnerability assessments, like in the previous few videos in which I just discussed about the Nikto tool, then I discussed about the Skipfish, which is yet another web application scanner, and it is basically a reconnaissance tool. So those were just the vulnerability scanners. But as far as our OWASP is concerned, with its ZAP proxy, we have it as a vulnerability assessment tool. So what we mean by that? That a vulnerability assessment tool, what it does, it basically lists out all the vulnerabilities, and it lists out the remediation steps as well. So what we have, so sideways we also had a active scan which is running. So till now we were having a spider, but now we have an active scan as well. So that's why that window popped up, and I already told you that all the windows would be popped up on their own, so we are not required to open up any new window. Okay, so we were in the alerts tab. Okay, so in the alerts we have presently generated a quite few bunch of alerts. So talking over the assessment tool, we have this as an assessment tool. That means we will be getting some remediation steps as well. So we would get with the first vulnerability, and that vulnerability is an application error disclosure. Okay, so here you can see, first here you can see the request which was made, the whole request, and after that we have the whole HTML code of that website, and in addition to that it finds out that where that vulnerability is. So if we click out like here, we have the internal error, which is an e-message in the console, which is a live reload. Okay, so that's a vulnerability which it found. And talking about the usefulness of this tool, we have the option to have the URL that where this vulnerability is present. We can look out the risk and at what confidence it can make out that it is a medium risk or a medium vulnerability. So it is having a medium confidence with this particular vulnerability, and there is no attack and perimeter right now for this particular vulnerability, but in the next one we shall have. Then we have the evidence. That evidence is the internal error, as we already have here. And then we have the CWE ID of this, that is common weakness enumeration ID. Then we have the WASP ID and the source. Okay, then we have quite a bit of description of that vulnerability and some other information, and we also have the solution, which I already told you. It's a security assessment tool rather than a security scanner. So now you know that what is difference between the security scanner and a security assessment tool. So we could have the, okay, first vulnerability looks good. Yeah, that is good, probably, because it is a high risk and it has a low confidence of having that vulnerability, and has any parameter attack is main PHP, and over here we have that over all the web pages, and don't have any evidence as of now, and the CWID is 22. We have a WASP ID, and we have 6 path traversals as a source. Okay, so as a part of description, we can see that the path traversal attack technique allows a whole lot of description, that is a lot. Then we have other information tab, which we can check the 5. Then we have a solution available for this particular vulnerability, a whole solution. Then we have some references that here we can just have a look of that vulnerability, and we can attack that and have the CWE MITRE framework acting here as a reference. Okay, so this scan will take I guess very long, because it is a large website, and I would probably say a web application, so it would take quite large amount of time. So I can show you an exported report which I just made before performing the scan. So I would go to the places, home, and in the GitHub I have the script scans, and over there I have the certified hacker zap.html. Okay, so what is that website? That website, as I have already explained in my previous videos, so I will be explaining it once again, because it is unethical to perform these kinds of attacks or security scans on any website. So I have the authorization of the EC Council to scan this website, which is certifiedhacker.com. So I have scanned that, and I have a generated HTML report of that scan. So I'll be showcasing the report. Okay, so that's the report, and I have a summary of all the alerts which were raised, and we have all the alerts which were existing or which are existing still, because it is a intentionally vulnerable web application created by EC Council for educational purposes only. And here we can see the name of the vulnerability, which is remote OS command injection. It has a high risk level, and we have 4 number of instances of that particular vulnerability. Then we have SQL injection with a high severity or risk level. So basically we have 2 high alerts, 3 medium, 4 low, and 4 informational. So when it comes to the automated scanners or vulnerability assessment tools, all the people think that then why do we have a need of any security researcher? Because we can just perform that scan and have the report generated on such an easy basis. So basically when you have the scan results, you have to eliminate the false positives and then finally make up a report. In this scanning report just created by ZAP itself, we could contain some, or I would say we do contain some false positives which are raised as an alert. So to eliminate those, we require human intervention in the vulnerability assessment part. That is the time where penetration testing takes place. Okay, so not getting much deep into that. In the alerts, okay, so we can just click over in the high. Also we come to the same section and we have a high, medium. So you might be wondering that what is the high, medium, but if you could recall, I already explained you that medium is the confidence interval. So we had a confidence interval of medium in finding the high alert, and this is the remote OS injection, command injection. These were the URLs, and this is the probable solution, which makes it a security assessment tool. And there we have some references of CWE MITRE framework and OWASP as well, with its CWE ID, WASC ID, source ID, and on all the other high vulnerabilities that we can use this particular attack to attack up this website or this URL, and so on. The list goes on and on. So we have quite a lot of them. So I just wanted to show you a generated report because the scan which we have initiated would take long, and I would say it really would take long because till now we only have the 0% of the active scan which is done. So having that completed, we are complete over yet another video which was on the OWASP tool, and now we are basically complete with our web-based security scanners and assessment tools. So in the next video we would probably start with the database assessment tools, and I would be introducing you to a very great database assessment automated scanner, and we would retrieve the databases of my OWASP broken web application, as you already know, and we will be going over that and having a lot of examples, and it would really be fun to work with that tool. So let's catch up in the next video. So till then, bye bye, take care, stay safe, don't forget to like my video, post a comment if you have any queries or suggestions, and just subscribe and press the bell icon for the latest updates.